I'm Sabrina Zainal, and this is Nightline. The top stories. Selangor Sultan expresses displeasure at Hadi's remarks on Malay rulers. And more than 100 killed by Israeli fire in Gaza while collecting food aid. Good morning. We begin with this story. As Israel's war enters its 5th month, at least 104 Palestinians waiting for food aid were killed and 760 others were wounded after being shot at by Zionist forces in Gaza on Thursday. Palestinian civilians had swarmed around newly arrived aid trucks in the hope of getting food when Zionist tanks and drones started shooting at the people in Harun al-Rashid Street in western Gaza City. The aid trucks then tried to escape the area, accidentally ramming others and causing further deaths and injuries. The death toll and number of injured is expected to increase as many bodies and people are still out on the street, with ambulances struggling to reach those in need because rubble is blocking the way. A Hamas senior member warned that the killings could lead to the failure of ongoing talks aiming at the release of hostages and a ceasefire. Meanwhile, in separate incidents, Zionist airstrikes and shelling have killed at least 30 people in the Nuseirat, Burej, and Khan Yunis camps. Meanwhile, the mounting death toll from the Zionists' military offensive on the Gaza Strip is a concrete daily reality for many Palestinians who, instead of building houses as they did before the war, they dig graves. Vowing to destroy Hamas, Israel has responded with an air and ground assault that has laid waste to much of the Palestinian territory, as Gaza's health ministry said on Thursday that the death toll had passed 30,000.
شرفنا على ما يقارب 30,000 شهيد ولا زلنا كمان العدد بتواصل قاعد فيا ريت احنا اليوم يعني احكي لك اياها بشغله انا بتمنى انه احنا نقف عن الشغله هذه امر الله حق الموت حق علينا لكن انا بتمنى انه الشغله هذه تقف اللي نرجع مش نبني قبور لانه العدد لسه بتواصل لا احنا بدنا نبني في هالبلد نرجع نعمر فيها فعن جد يعني زهقنا من قصه انه ابن قبور فقلنا لا بدنا نرجع ان شاء الله نبني عماير نفتح افق لهالبلد نرجع نعمرها ان شاء الله لانه احنا فعلا يعني وصلنا مرحله احباط عن جد يعني.
The Sultan of Selangor, Sultan Sharifuddin Idris Shah, expressed displeasure at past President Tan Sri Abdul Hadi Awang for the latter's recent statement, which were directed to religious scholars, lawyers, judges, members of parliament, state legislative assemblies, and the Malay rulers. The ruler also described Hadi's cynical statement as very inappropriate and uncivilized, particularly from the point of view of Malay culture. The ruler was referring to Hadi's open statement, which was made in connection to His Majesty's speech during the meeting of the Malaysian National Council for Islamic Religious Affairs, MKI, on February 15th. The ruler said Hadi's cynical remarks were indirectly connecting the Sultan's decree to the attitude of rulers who, according to the past president, must be concerned with the afterlife and not pursue worldly interests alone. Sultan Sharifuddin said such a statement was most inappropriate and ill-mannered, given the Malay culture to always be respectful and polite when expressing views and advice to the Malay rulers. According to the ruler, the contents of Hadi's statement showed that the past president did not read and study Sultan Sharifuddin's decree more carefully before issuing the statement. This is especially in relation to the decision of the federal court in the Nick Ellen case, which challenged the validity of 16 criminal provisions in the Kelantan Sharia Criminal Enactment 2019. The royal rebuke was conveyed in a letter addressed to Selangor PAS Commissioner, Datuk Dr. Abdul Halim Tamuri, which was signed by Sultan Sharafuddin's private secretary, Datuk Munir Bani. It was also published in a post on the Selangor Royal Office Facebook page. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim on Thursday questioned the silence of opposition leaders who are seen not expressing any support for the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC's efforts to investigate high-profile figures associated with corruption. He said the opposition instead accused the investigations carried out against those high-profile figures and super-rich individuals as motivated by personal vendettas.
So lihat di parlimen dalam beberapa hari ini, so lihat ada yang seolah-olah menggelupur, marah terus. Saya pun tak faham. Marah, benci. Dan tidak ada satu suara kalau di kalangan pembangkang yang nak menyokong langkah pemberantasan rasuah. Bagi saya aneh.
Anwar said this in a speech during the National Anti-Corruption Summit and ACS 2024 in Kuala Lumpur on Thursday. He also highlighted his own past support for MACC initiatives during his time in the opposition, emphasizing the need for a united front against corruption.
Kita harus beri mesej yang jelas. Kamu rompak harta negara, kamu curi wang rakyat, tak dapat tangkap hari ini, esok lebih tangkap. Tak dapat esok, bulan depan. Tak dapat bulan depan, tahun depan. Tak dapat tahun depan, 10 tahun depan. Tangkap, pasti tangkap.
He stressed that efforts to combat corruption cannot be considered easy because the anti-graft buster is faced with adversaries characterized as giants and among the wealthiest in the country. At the same event, the Prime Minister also said that any member of his cabinet found involved in corrupt practices must be dismissed from their positions to save the country from corruption. Anwar said he has also directed the MACC to take action against ministers found involved in such practices.
Sudah setahun lebih kita perintah, banyak diserang, tapi saya tanya di parlimen dan di luar parlimen. Beri satu bukti. Menteri, Perdana Menteri sekarang dalam tindakan mereka. Kalau ada yang rasuah, tanya Tan Sri Azam. Saya kata kalau ada, kita siasat dakwa dan ikut badan kehakiman hukum. Tapi tidak ada.
He also advised cabinet members to evaluate and scrutinize any approved projects before proceeding to ensure that the process is transparent, clean and potentially cost-effective. In other news, the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, does not rule out the possibility of initiating prosecution in absentia against businessman Datuk Sri Muhammad Adlan Berhan. Its Chief Commissioner, Tan Sri Azam Baki, however, said such an option would be the last resort in the event that the authorities have exhausted all avenues to track down the son-in-law of the former Prime Minister, Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin.
Memang kita sekarang ni telah keluarkan warrant tangkap terhadap beliau. Jadi kita masih lagi belum memutuskan untuk menuduh tanpa kehadiran. Tuduhan tanpa kehadiran ni memang boleh dibuat, tetapi itu merupakan option yang terakhir lah. Saya boleh kata begitu. Kerana saya percaya dia masih boleh dikesan ataupun dia masih boleh balik ke Malaysia untuk menghadapi pertuduhan.
Azam said this after attending the National Anti-Corruption Summit NACS 2024 in Kuala Lumpur on Thursday. Last week, Azam was quoted as saying that the Commission has prepared several criminal breach of trust charges against Muhammad Adlan. He, however, said the Commission could not proceed with prosecuting Muhammad Adlan since the latter could not be located. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi on Thursday proposed the implementation of Bumiputra Economic Transformation, TEB, as a policy to empower the Bumiputra. He said TEB set 3 main goals, namely socio-economic justice, nation-state sustainability, as well as national prosperity and people's well-being. Ahmad Zahid said this to ensure that the policy and implementation of the National Economic Agenda not only guarantees the involvement and rights of the Bumiputras, but also to ensure their synergy with the non-Bumiputras.
Bumiputra dalam sektor ekonomi dapat diperkasakan dengan beberapa langkah. Malah ia juga bertujuan memastikan Bumiputra tidak lagi ketinggalan dalam menyertai peluang ekonomi dan teknologi baru, di samping turut serta membesarkan ekonomi negara.
Zahid, who is also the Rural and Regional Development Minister, said every step taken to empower the Bumiputra economy should be in line with efforts towards more equitable development and creating a foundation for strong economic growth. As such, he said the Bumiputra Economic Congress 2024 must find a solution to get more Bumiputra to participate in entrepreneurial activities, because the ability to be independent in generating income will lead to an increase in the standard of living and well-being of the people as a whole. Plantations and Commodities Minister Datuk Sri Johari Abdul Ghani has called on the government to establish a centralized and comprehensive database hub for Bumiputra entrepreneurs. He said this is crucial to prevent leaks and eradicate the Alibaba phenomenon, and would enable the government to effectively filter and verify the authenticity of Bumiputra businesses.
Database ini ialah database yang kerajaan kontrol. Dia tahu the real Bumiputra ni. Dia tak boleh ada database di MOF lain, di MITI lain, di kementerian ni lain, tak boleh. Dia ikut macam bank. Kalau bank, kita ada orang nak buat pinjaman, dia terus pergi SIKRIS. Kalau syarikat-syarikat swasta ni, dia akan pergi tengok SITOS. Tengok nak background company tu. Dan kita nak database ini. Kalau tak ada database ini, kita akan forever make a mistake. Pergi bagi peluang atau mendidik usahawan yang bukan the real usahawan.
Johari said this at a press conference after participating in a panel discussion titled Unity Aspiration Strengthens the Bumiputra Agenda at the Bumiputra Economic Congress 2024. The database, he said, can help ensure that only eligible entrepreneurs receive projects or incentives. Two Bersatu MPs have expressed their readiness to vacate their seats if the party amends its constitution this Saturday to bar members from unilaterally switching support. Bukit Gantang MP Datuk Syed Abu Hussein Hafiz Syed Abdul Faisal and Gua Musang MP Muhammad Azizi Abu Naim, however, stressed that they would not back down from declaring support towards Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim's administration. The two MPs also stressed that the support was voluntarily made without any persuasion or reward.
Bagaimana yang telah kami beri sokongan bahawa jelas pada kami tidak ada apa-apa imbuhan yang kami memberikan sokongan dengan ikhlas semata-mata memikirkan tentang pembangunan kawasan dan membela rakyat di kawasan kami.
Telah mengharungi lebih 1 tahun Parlimen Penggal ke-15. Jadi buat masa ini adalah masa untuk kita semua wakil rakyat berkhidmat kepada masyarakat kita di setiap kawasan masing-masing. Jadi berbalik kepada isu yang telah dibangkitkan oleh Tasik Lugu kemarin, pada saya kita menghormati semua statement oleh sesiapa sahaja. Cuma apa yang telah dilemparkan ataupun dilontarkan kepada Parlimen semalam adalah tidak benarlah satu fitnah semata-mata.
Syed Abu Hussein and Muhammad Azizi said such a decision was made after considering the implications of the Constitution if being amended retrospectively. Previously, Bersatu announced its plans to conduct a special General Assembly in March to discuss the amendment of the party's constitution aimed to prevent more members and leaders from switching support. Aside from Syed Abu Hussein and Muhammad Azizi, 4 other MPs have declared their support for the unity government, namely Datuk Iskandar Zulkarnain Abdul Khalid from Kuala Kangsar, Zahari Kecik from Jeli, Datuk Dr. Suhaili Abdul Rahman from Labuan, and Datuk Dr. Zulkafli Tanjung Karang. Still to come, striking doctors defy deadline to return to work.
Small enterprises, big dreams. How to shape small businesses into pioneers of change and adaptability in the modern landscape. How to propel small businesses into a dynamic era of resilience. Small Businesses Reimagined with SME veteran Dr. Michael Kang and economist Professor Jeffrey Williams this Saturday at 5 p.m. on TV3 and stream on Tonton.
Mulut harus dijaga, anti badan binasa.
Mereka hanya ada 7 hari untuk menyempurnakannya.
Are you with me? We're with you. Let's bring it in. Come on. Let's do it.
Mengubah mimpi menjadi realiti dalam satu misi membina semula rumah yang baru.
Beautiful village we're making.
Got the custom Thailand cabinets are going in right now. Love it. Looking good. Yep.
Extreme Makeover Home Edition setiap Sabtu 12:30 hari. Stream sekarang di Tonton dan di TV3.
And we're back with foreign news. Thailand's health minister said the country is expected to ban the recreational use of marijuana by the end of this year, but will continue allowing its use for medical purposes. Now, the government has drafted a new law to regulate cannabis use that is expected to take effect by year end. The draft bill will now go to the cabinet for approval next month before heading to Parliament to be passed before the end of the year. The draft law specifies a fine of up to $1,700 for recreational use, while those selling cannabis for such use and participating in advertisement or marketing of buds, resin, extract, or smoking devices face jail terms of up to 1 year or a fine of up to $2,800 or both. It also toughens punishment for cannabis farming without a license. Import, export, cultivation, and commercial use of cannabis will now also require permits. Moving on, thousands of South Korean trainee doctors who staged a mass walkout over healthcare reforms have refused to return to work in defiance of a government deadline to end the strike or face legal action. Deputy Health Minister Park Min-soo said as of Wednesday night, only 294 of the more than 9,000 trainee doctors who have left their posts were back at work. It was reported that only 5 or 6 trainee doctors showed up late Thursday to a meeting the government had invited at least 94 doctors to in a bid to persuade them to return. The government had earlier issued a back-to-work order and warned their medical licenses could be suspended if they do not comply by Thursday's deadline. A teenager in Australia has been jailed on Thursday for carrying out what is thought to be the nation's first school shooting. The judge who sentenced him to 3 years in juvenile detention said good luck had prevented a tragic outcome when no one was hurt in the shooting, which is believed to be the first of its kind in Australia. The boy's lawyer had asked the judge to consider a non-custodial term, saying his client was suffering from depression at the time and had undiagnosed autism spectrum disorder. The 15-year-old from Perth fired 3 shots with 2 rifles at the Atlantis Beach Baptist College last May, leaving staff and students cowering in cupboards and under desks before police eventually arrested him. Pandalila Dabita dropped from Road to Gold program. Sports after this breather.
Money Matters is back with a new season. Your key insights into finance. Money Matters. Every Saturday, 5 p.m. Only on TV3 and stream now on Tonton.
Sports now. Divers Datuk Pandalila Rinong and Nur Dabita Sabri have been dropped from the Road to Gold RTG program. RTG coordinator Datuk Stuart Ramalingam announced on Thursday after the meeting that the two senior divers have been removed from the program for their failure to qualify for the Paris Olympics. Stuart also announced that Malaysia's sole diving representative at the 2024 Olympics, national men's diver Bertrand Rodriguez, was the latest addition to the RTG program so that he would receive assistance in preparations, including overseas training and support services. The 18-year-old qualified in the men's individual 10-meter platform event at the World Aquatic Championship in Fukuoka, Japan last year. Currently, 13 athletes are in the RTG program, including 2022 World Doubles champions Aaron Chia Sowuyik and National Track Cycling champion Datuk Muhammad Azizul Hasni Awang. On to football, the English FA Cup. Lewis Kumas scored on debut and fellow 18-year-old Jayden Dans registered his first 2 goals as a depleted Liverpool side beat Southampton 3-0 at Anfield. Liverpool broke the deadlock just before halftime when 18-year-old Kumas received a superb pass from Bobby Clark on the edge of the penalty area before shooting into the bottom corner via a deflection off Jack Stevens. Dans doubled the lead when he netted his first goal for Liverpool's senior team in the 73rd minute after he dinked the ball over keeper Joe Lumley. The 18-year-old scored again 15 minutes later when he pounced on a loose ball after Lumley batted away Connor Bradley's shot. The 8-time FA Cup winners will travel to arch rivals Manchester United in the last 8 over the weekend of March 16th. In another match, Chelsea survived a scare as Conor Gallagher came off the bench to score a last-minute winner and seal a 3-2 victory over Leeds. Mauricio Pochettino's side fell behind early on when a defensive error led to Mateo Joseph scoring his first senior goal as Leeds went ahead after only 8 minutes. The visitors, however, were only leaders for 6 minutes after Nicholas Jackson drew level with a low strike from Moises Caicedo's pass. Mikhailo Mudryk then gave Chelsea a 37th-minute lead after sweeping Raheem Sterling's pullback into the bottom corner. Leeds were the better side in the second half and managed to equalize after Joseph grabbed his second goal with a header. Gallagher then scored a last-minute winner after he lashed the ball past goalkeeper Ilan Meslier to snatch a dramatic victory. After this short break, man probed for pushing girlfriend from 23rd floor of Condo.
luar biasa. Maksudnya, perjuangan kita dah dapat perhatian daripada HQ.
Apa yang stresnya, Din? Sekarang kami nak bilik. Sekarang. Mengikut amalan demokrasi. Itu tipokrasi.
Hotel tu dia yang punya.
I ni memang selalu keluar TV. Kau dengar tak apa yang aku dengar? Mungkin dia kena kidnap.
Check in untuk jenaka 5 bintang dengan Boleh Saya Bantu minggu akhir. Di Lestari TV3 dan stream juga melalui Tonton.
Thanks for staying with us. In Selangor, a lorry driver has been remanded for allegedly pushing his Thai girlfriend to her death from a condominium in Setia Alam on Wednesday. Shah Alam Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Muhammad Iqbal Ibrahim said his men applied for the remand order before Magistrate Farah Rosnan, and the magistrate granted a 7-day remand from Thursday until March 6th. The deceased, a 32-year-old Thai national, and the suspect were said to be in a relationship. Iqbal said witnesses heard the couple arguing and saw the deceased being pushed from the 23rd floor. The body landed on the 7th floor of the building. Police received a report on the incident at 10:02 p.m., and the suspect was apprehended at 10:10 p.m. The suspect, who has 7 criminal records and 1 record related to drugs, tested positive for cannabis. Police are investigating the case under the Penal Code for murder. February 29th is World Rare Disease Day. This year, 25-year-old Linda Rao shares about her journey with Nemaline rod myopathy and why she doesn't let her condition define her. FMT's Sheila Vijayan and Divya Raghu have the story.
Nemaline rod myopathy, a disorder that causes weak muscles and diminished muscle tone, is classified as a rare disease in Malaysia. It affects only a small percentage of the general population, and Lingeswari Apparau, better known as Linda Rao, is one of them.
It started when I was 2 years old, and then until 6 years old, I can walk, but as a walker, I can't run. I've been very slow in walking short distance and get tired too fast.
At age 6, she was also diagnosed with progressive alveolar hyperventilation syndrome, a condition that affects her breathing and requires her to depend on a machine. Later, Linda began using a wheelchair and was diagnosed with scoliosis. In school, she would stand out from her classmates by bringing along her breathing machine and a fan to keep the machine cool. Yet, like most girls, she had a passion for fashion and dreamt of becoming a model. To fit in, Linda initially shared edited photos of herself on social media without revealing that she used a wheelchair or breathing machine. Then, at age 20, she decided to stop hiding. Her courage has paid off as she was eventually signed by Dawn Management, a local talent and modeling agency, and in January won the Miss Congeniality title in the Miss Amazing Malaysia beauty pageant, which celebrates differently abled women. She has also started a business, Absolute Glam by Linda Rao, selling products such as eyeliners, lashes, and beauty blenders. Today, Linda holds a diploma in management, has a full-time job in human resources, and shares snippets of her life on social media, hoping to inspire others.
They assume that I'm weak, I'm uneducated, I'm just a normal girl who stays at home. But I feel like I did a lot of things in my life to educate myself, educate others. So please do not judge others without knowing them.
For her, beauty is self-confidence.
I would like to say and tell to my brothers and sisters who have rare condition that the world is changing. Okay, trust me, the world is changing. At the same time, you guys need to come out to feel confident yourself, and it is okay to be different. Because trust me, all of us are different.
Divya Raghu and Sheila Vijayan, FMT Lifestyle for Nightline.
Nightline, let's take a look at 25 artists in Yemen gathering with their paint palettes and brushes, creating artwork expressing their solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza. With that, I'm Sabrina Zainal. Thank you for tuning in and stay safe.